Quite honestly, standing on this stage is weird. In my time at Madeira, I have crossed to the light side. Coming back from winter break, freshman year, I planned on playing volleyball for 4 years. Little did I know that Cecilia would talk me into joining a crazy family. By the time she got to me, it was too late to be on stage. Thankfully, it was perfect time to join tech in the shadows. I threw the ugly black volleyball shoes in the back of the closet and broke out tech black. My family jokes that I'm not a part of the family because I spend all my time at theater or hanging out with theater kids. But theater let me find who I am, and I couldn't be more thankful for that.
I'm no stranger to the spotlight. I've been doing this since 5th grade. Yes, theater was intimidating at first, but I quickly fell in love with it. After my first show, I knew it was what I wanted to pursue as an extracurricular, and I never looked back. But as I got older and entered high school, I was truly surprised by all the amazing experiences I got to share with different people.
During Hello Dolly, Cecilia and I joked that one day I'd be stage manager, but as a freshman, it seemed like an impossible dream. Opening night came, and with that, so did the conversation that recognized my hard work during Hello Dolly and the chance to be stage manager for the rest of my high school career. From then on, Cecilia and I shared every laugh, frustration theater has brought. I know that I can talk to her about anything dealing with the show, and she's there to help or even rant with me about how hard it is to manage high schoolers. During the duration of the show, I saw Cecilia every day, and working on shows without her is going to be one of the hardest changes. Through theater, I have made a forever friend.
My side of that story is a little bit different. Since I had participated in theater since middle school, a lot of my friends were upperclassmen who would be leaving me after graduation. So I convinced Lisa to join Hello Dolly so I could have a friend who would be with me for the remainder of my theater career. I remember having that conversation right before the show started, and it's been amazing to see us both grow at the same time, each of us doing our own part to put on every show. Lisa has been there through it all, the long hours of tech week, the excitement of opening nights. Her smiling face in the booth has become one of the parts of theater that I've grown to love the most, and I'm going to miss it, because as I continue to do theater in college, it just won't be the same without her.
Each of our futures hold different and exciting things. Theater let me grasp onto the idea of continuing to work in the arts. Although I thought I was pretty set on studying business coming in freshman year, but walking through the booth door, every thought about my future has been set on theater. Whether it's working on a traveling tour or owning a theater company one day. I have endless opportunities to expand my love and meet new and exciting people. My story continues in a new city, but keeps the same dream.
I, unlike Lisa, will not be majoring in theater, but that doesn't mean it hasn't influenced what I want to do. I'm majoring in speech pathology because it combines my two loves, language and communication. Expression is one of the biggest parts of theater, and I want to help people find their voices, just like theater helped me find mine. Through theater, we found our voices and discovered our futures, and even though it was an amazing experience, it would not have been nearly as memorable or fun without this lifelong friendship that we've gained because of it.
It is now my pleasure to introduce my Lightboard op, Katie Leisman.
Thank you, Cecilia and Liesel. I'll wait until you sit down. Hi, everyone. I hope you all have enjoyed your evening so far, but before I get started, I want to take a minute to introduce myself so there aren't any confused parents wondering why some random girl is up at the podium. My name is Katie Leisman. It's nice to meet all of you. No, your children have probably not mentioned me before. I don't get out much. I've been here since freshman year. Back then, my future was shrouded in mystery and uncertainty. I was taking the road less traveled by coming here to Madeira, and I didn't have any expectations because, frankly, I didn't know what to expect. By going here, I was entering into a part of my life where I didn't know what would happen, and now that it's over, I'm going to be starting that journey all over again. All of us will. We're almost to graduation. Looking ahead, things probably seem very ambiguous to most of us. If they're not for you, lucky you. This is a close to a big chapter of some people's lives because they've learned so much over these past 4 years. As we turn to the next page, we will discover it's blank. I don't know what dirty window you guys will be opening. Honestly, I don't even know what that part of the song means. But I hope you can all follow Natasha Bedingfield's advice and can release your inhibitions and feel the rain on your skin. The rest of our stories are unwritten, and the future chapters will be filled with new experiences and new people that will alter our lives in unforeseeable ways. As we all go off to college, we will all be new. Even if some of us are still surrounded by friends that we've known for years, there will be hundreds of new people around us who are also new. Don't isolate yourself off from them because you don't know what they'll bring into your life, and don't let your fears prevent you from opening up. The low-card exchange principle mostly applies into a forensic setting, but I believe it can be used in this situation as well. The principle states that we leave a little piece of ourselves wherever we go. If we leave a piece of ourselves in the lives of everyone we meet, they are leaving a piece of themselves in our lives as well. We are impacting each other's futures without even knowing it, which is why it's important to be kind. I challenge all of you to keep the open-mindedness and the welcoming attitude you had when you were welcoming me as the new student. You never know who is going to come into your life, especially during college. The next person you meet could be your best friend, your husband or wife, the person who saves your life, or the person whose life you save, or someone who's going to be really, really rich. Just flashing someone a smile can do wonders. It can make a person's day, and when you smile a lot, people will start to smile back. It invites people in. We will change the lives of those we meet, even in the most imperceptible ways. New people could change your life in so many ways. By being kind and welcoming others into our lives, we can brighten our future and get a better sense of what will be coming to us because of the people we are surrounding ourselves with. This way we can know what's coming, and the future doesn't seem so perplexing. As daunting as it may seem, the future is going to be filled with good things. Honestly, we haven't seen the best of what it has to offer yet. We will fall in love, we will have a job we love, we will find beauty in things we never thought before is beautiful. A lot of good things are bound to happen to us, but not everything that comes our way will be good and happy. We will lose those we love, we will struggle to achieve things we've always wanted, things we deserve, and we will find ugliness in beautiful things. These things are what make the future seem so intimidating. The uncertainty of it is what makes us want to remain young and carefree forever. So yes, the future is very enigmatic, but if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that we will survive. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friends Hannah and Hannah.
Thank you, Katie. So, we're going to let you all in on a little secret. We can't bake.
One day, being the bored 10-year-olds we were, we decided to make muffins. Now, these weren't going to be any ordinary muffins. They were our world-famous sweet and salty muffins. But since we had no recipe and no eggs,
Or baking powder.
or oil, these muffins were a pasty, probably not completely edible mixture of water and flour.
The sweet muffins also contain 6 cups of sugar, way too much vanilla, and chocolate chips.
The salty muffins had rosemary and sea salt, maybe pepper? I don't know how we thought this was a good idea.
And I'm surprised that we didn't burn the house down.
So when we finally got the muffins, which were more like balls of burning rubber, out of the oven, our excitement quickly diminished.
Yeah, really. Your mom, the salty muffins were so nasty, your mom couldn't even pretend they were good when we forced her to eat them.
But despite the consistency, those sweet muffins were actually decent, probably because of all of the sugar.
So you're probably wondering why we're telling you about our early childhood culinary failure and a speech about friendship. I promise it'll make sense later, but for now we want to give you a little background on how Hannah Squared came to be.
We met, as most Madeira kids do, on the elementary school playground, introduced by mutual friends. That means you, Rachel Wollner. And immediately we became super tight because we have the same name.
In retrospect, that's not the best way to pick friends, but we were 6, and it ended up working out better than we could have ever hoped.
We played childhood games and had playdates all the time, but something that Hannah and I both did was Girl Scouts.
Other Hannah came late to the party since the Scouts troop of 85-82 were already brownies, but I helped her fit in with the new Madeira pals like Erica, Maggie, Sabrina, Liesel, Casey, and a bunch of other elementary school girls who tonight are part of your senior class.
We sold so many cookies back in the day, but we also made some lasting friendships so that H Squared became part of a larger friend group.
But we are still inseparable.
And it was these bonds of friendship that we built up in our childhood that would carry us through the salty muffins of school, friends, sports, drama, and life.
Ever since we were little, we've encountered salty muffins, some much nastier than others. For example, once we were together kayaking in the Everglades, and Hannah here decided to steer us right into an alligator.
No, you were most definitely the one who ran over it.
Says the one who was steering the kayak.
So, as you can tell, there were disagreements. One type of salty muffin that anyone encounters in friendships.
There was miscommunication too, especially in high school, when we were each facing our own stress and spending time in some different activities and classes. And this led to a lot of unnecessary drama.
But when the muffins got really salty, we always had a Hannah to turn to for help.
Anyway, there were fights, tears, and issues, but those salty muffins only made our friendship stronger.
And there were sweet muffins too.
There was late night studying while eating Chinese food, sidewalk chalking the entire cul-de-sac, blowing bubbles.
And yes, we did this as seniors because we're pretty much just large children.
But as I was saying, we played Cards Against Humanity, watched Game of Thrones with Peter Nelson, belted out show tunes with Maeve, had sleepovers in Hannah's hammock, and didn't bake, but decorated cookies every Christmas.
We also made more friends in high school because shifts in friend groups can be salty, but also very sweet. We bonded with Cecilia, Garrett, August, Katie Leese, Molly, Madeline, Anna, and some of the juniors and underclassmen, all very sweet muffins.
With each new friend, we added a new ingredient to the recipe. It's just like our baking experiment back when we were little, but with a much better outcome.
As we graduate and start a new chapter of our lives, we'll make new friends and have many salty and sweet memories to come.
Best friends are people you know you don't need to talk to every single day. You don't even have to talk to each other for weeks. But when you do, it's like you never even stop talking at all.
A friend is someone who loves you unconditionally, understands you, but never judges you, and always tries to support you and give good advice.
And we hope, class of 2016, our friends and peers, that you will cherish and hold on to your old friends.
But have no fear about going out there and making new ones. Thank you. It's my pleasure to now introduce Jack Dougherty.
Let them get seated. So thank you, Hannah Squared. My problems began in the middle school, or so I'll tell the psychologist 10 years from now. When my mom was a substitute teacher and a PTO president. She was always in the building. This made it hard for this anchorman to truly break out of his shell and step into the limelight. So I walked through those big doors of Madeira High School, finally ready to break free. As it had turned out, she had gotten a long-term subbing position at the high school. Every step I took, every move I made, she was watching me. I may sound paranoid, but I'm pretty sure she even moved David and I's locker next to her room. However, even though she creepily followed us, it taught me how important family and teachers are to Madeira students. I'm not that same kid that walked through the main doors of this building 4 years ago. So who changed me for the better? Probably all the teachers who helped me through the years. The person who taught me the most was Mr. Kitchen. I got D's on every one of his papers. I had to ask for help, and Mr. Kitchen met with me every week. He taught me how important communication is. This is the most important lesson I have learned from those 4 years, and it may have been why he encouraged me to present and speak, which is the reason I'm speaking here today. Then there's Gurr, who not only taught me that Lee Harvey Oswald didn't kill JFK, but that I could actually be successful in a math class. And even though I didn't have Mrs. Keen in any of my classes, she's always been a part of what made the school great for me. She's always stopped and talked with me whenever I saw her, which got me through some rough days. In a business partnership with a scrap metal and recycling company, Mrs. Tucker made it okay to talk about baby elephants to the company's executives. Mr. Olson took the time to know my name and say hi to me every morning. He even knew which one of the twins I am. I learned a lot from Miss Seelmeyer, namely that working ahead of schedule is encouraged, especially when it's the biggest project of the year. All the teachers at the school make it interesting every day. Parents, you've done more for us than anyone else. You put a roof over our heads, gave us food to eat, you taught us how to talk and walk, bike, drive, and everything in between. You proofread our papers, helped with last-minute projects, drove us everywhere, managed all of our activities, watched over progress book like hawks. It's true. But most importantly, you motivated us to get where we are today. I would like to specifically thank my mom, who's over there. Mom, I did tell everyone the complete truth about how you stalked Dave and me. However, even though you were obsessive, I'm thankful for all you've done for me. Like buying food for Dave and me to snack on in your room, attending our band concerts, buying snacks for the tennis team, being our number one, and possibly only fan, at the long and boring tennis matches. Having lunch ready for us at home for our friends and us, even though you were here working, and everything else you did. But mainly the food. I'm a teenage boy after all, what did you expect? It's hard for me to imagine what my life will be like without a mom at my school. So teachers and parents, the only thing I have left to say is, thank you for all you've done.
Our next speaker has been a teacher, coach, and mentor to many of us for the past 3 years. Mr. Bolarski has done an exceptional job teaching us about everything history related, from the Mongols and AP World to present-day news topics and contemporary world issues. Not only has he taught us the content of the curriculum, but he makes an effort to get to know every student on a personal level. Some got to know Mr. Bolarski during the academic team season, where he led the team to qualify for the NAQT National Tournament. Mr. Bolarski played a pivotal role in Madeira's academic team, taking on the role of coach when they only had 2 returning players. He's helped to build a strong Madeira academic team program through his dedication to coaching and providing endless amounts of popcorn. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Bolarski up to the microphone.
I have a Jolly Roger I gotta put up. Give me 1 second. Don't worry, there's no quiz. Superintendent Kramer, Assistant Superintendent Matsudo, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Kimling, President Shea, graduates in waiting for the class of 2016. A few weeks ago, I was asked if I'd speak at Baccalaureate. It didn't take me very long to decide that this was something that I wanted to do. Although I didn't have all of you as students, this senior class is one that's special for me. Your class was my first AP class I ever taught at Madeira High School, and the last to be offered AP European History. I won't clap, that's good. We made t-shirts joking about defenestration and how Poland's diet, or legislative body for those of you that aren't history students, exploded many times. We hoisted the Jolly Roger in anticipation of tests and quizzes, and who could forget board races? This class also gave me the greatest gift I've ever received as a teacher. At the end of the year, I received a collection of Bolarskiisms, recording some of the ridiculous things that I apparently said. The majority of them make little sense out of context, but imagine starting off talking about Charles Darwin, and by the end of the class period, we were talking about if the mullet would ever come back as a hairstyle. This class is very good about getting teachers off topic. And who could ever forget the old art period joke, if it ain't Baroque, don't fix it. It's the little things like this that make a big impact on we teachers. I am honored that I was selected to speak to you this evening. I went from being hopeful that the seniors I had in class would remember their history teacher from their sophomore year to being elated that I, of all the great teachers at this school, would be able to speak at baccalaureate. I've heard the legends of other teachers speaking at baccalaureate in the past, and I thought if my name was ever mentioned in the same sentence to some of them, maybe it would be glory by association. So I said yes, and then being the history teacher that I am, I began to research the history behind the baccalaureate ceremony. So when I don't know the answer to a question, I do what every brilliant human being does. I Googled baccalaureate and went straight to Wikipedia. Perhaps there's some irony in that we tell students not to use Wikipedia as a source, and that's the first place that I went to in writing this speech. Now, I don't want to go full history teacher mode on you, so I'll summarize. Almost 700 years ago at the University of Oxford, before each student was allowed to graduate, they were required to give a sermon in Latin. The tradition followed across the pond to the US, where we dropped the Latin part, sorry Magistra if you're out there, and generally made this thing a lot more fun. Speaking of fun, that wasn't really a dig, but okay, we'll go with it. Speaking of fun, I often got comments from teachers, from people outside of education that aren't teachers, when I tell them that I'm a teacher, and I get things like, do you like it? Is it fun? Kids today just aren't like they used to be. These millennials can't communicate. They just stare at their phones all day. Kids these days can't keep their focus or pay attention to anything. They're entitled. How many of you have heard something like this? Now, for the most part, I defend your honor. I tell them that I don't like teaching. I love it. That it's the most fun thing that I know. I tell them that students are at their essence the same as they've always been. I explain that students communicate more frequently now than ever before, just in multiple ways. In regards to your supposed short attention span, I offer with so many things to do with so much knowledge at your fingertips, it's easy to see how students might shift their focus from time to time. I explain that it is your optimism and life experience that guides you to expect that things will constantly and consistently improve, because quite frankly, in your lifetime, they always have. I then try to explain that the criticisms of today's youth are really no different than the criticisms of yesteryear. You could also imagine that when the mailman walks up to me to deliver the mail and says, kids these days just aren't like they used to be, and expects me to agree, things get kind of awkward when I don't, and then start talking about people that have been dead for like 2,000 years. So the complaints that adults make about students today are no different than the ones that were being made 200 or even 2,000 years ago. In regards to your supposed inability to communicate, over 200 years ago, Thomas Sheridan wrote that young people have a total neglect for the art of speaking. 800 years ago, Peter the Hermit complained in a sermon, which strikes me as a bit odd, because if you're a hermit, I don't know what you're doing talking to a large group of people. Just go with it. He complained that young people of today think of nothing but themselves. The Roman Cicero allegedly warned, times are bad, children no longer obey their parents, and everyone is writing a book. Aristotle complained over 2,000 years ago that young Greeks are unappreciative and expect too much. So the next time that someone begins telling you that the apocalypse is coming with each generation, you can rest easy. The world is still turning despite every generation being blamed for society's ills by the one before it. Just be careful when you're old and in your bed many years from now, not to blame everything on the next generation that follows. Contrary to the apocalyptic vision that the vocal minority of people have for your class is the reality of your success. You will have graduated in just a few days from one of the top high schools in the state of Ohio. Your accomplishments are diverse, and there are too many to list individually. But given all the success that you've achieved, I hope that you've learned most of all to compete. It is my hope that you're never afraid to fail, and that you never stop competing. But it can be tough to keep pushing yourself, taking risks, daring to succeed. The tremendous pressure of social media is full of other people's successes. But how often do people post, tweet, and Snapchat their utter failures? We live in a world where success, fun, and accomplishments are omnipresent. But what about all the times where we don't succeed, have to do unpleasant tasks, or accomplish very little? Don't let the pressure of success prohibit you from undertaking new adventures. After all, it's these new journeys that make you grow, because we learn more from our struggles than from our successes. Now, it's easy for me to stand up here and to tell yourself, to challenge yourself, to take risks, and to compete. But like Gandhi said, you gotta be the change that you want to see in the world. In the last 5 years, roughly the same amount of time that it'll take for you to finish college with a master's degree, I've challenged myself by taking up new sports activities and trying to learn new languages, all with varying degrees of success. But if I were afraid to fail, my life wouldn't be nearly as great as it is today. 20 years ago, there was a girl that I went to high school with who slammed a locker door in my face. I didn't let that failure stop me from trying. Fast forward 10 years later, and I overcame overwhelming odds and pulled off the Queen City miracle when I convinced that same girl, now a woman, and my wife, to marry me. So as the class of 2016 leaves Madeira High School, I hope that you take risks, try new things, and most of all, compete. And if you fail, do so as Teddy Roosevelt suggested. Do it while daring greatly, so that way your place shall never be among those cold and timid souls that neither know victory nor defeat. It's been a privilege teaching you and an honor speaking to you tonight. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed to the Madeira High School class of 2016.